Today on Toy Shiz, we're heading over to Mondo Toys to check out the very first installment of their brand new Mondo Squads figure featuring Real monsters. They're real, I tell ya. Welcome back, everyone. Toy Shiz here, and we are back yet again for another Mondo Toys video. It's been a little bit since we've looked at something from Mondo, but it's always a treat when we are able to. I got this day one. I could not wait. This is the very first installment of their brand new Mondo Squads line, and it features Real monsters. And I absolutely love that old Nicktoon. Now, the box is very large. There's not a whole heck of a lot going on the front and the back. We'll talk about that. It does have the flappy opening. You can't really see the figures because they're all wrapped up, which is what you want. You could take all that wrapping out and do it yourself if you'd like, but it has really nice artwork of Ickis, Crumb, Oblina. And the box is covered in roaches, so if you want to have yourself a little snack before we get started, you are more than welcome. On the back side of the box, and this is where we get all classy, right? I love when a company talks about who was involved in the making of these figures. So here's everyone involved. As always, thank you very much. Go check them out on Instagram. Such lovely people. This is a set of, well, let's say 3 figures and you get a couple accessories and 2 other characters, we'll just say. But this is the deluxe set. It cost $150. Again, like I said, bought it day one, could not wait. Been waiting forever for an Real monsters, we'll say quote-unquote action figure line, even though these are more like maquette style, minimal articulation, but if you're a fan of Real monsters, you're definitely in for a treat. So we'll kind of do this just laid back. You got trays upon trays of real monsters here. They're all packed away nicely. We'll get each one out, and the first one we're going to check out, of which looks great, even without the wrappings off, which is, of course, Oblina. And I love the reds and the blacks and the whites, and that just looks really cool. The whole candy cane shape, all the accent lines for the artwork, peg holes on the bottom, the little tufts of hair or fuzz or whatever she's got going on from the tail to the head. Like I said, minimal articulation. That is the name of the game. All of these monsters feature swap out parts and pieces. That's what I like. I am not looking, especially in this day and age, for an articulated action figure line for Real monsters. It just wouldn't work. There's not enough fans left. But with the deluxe set, you do get this Bonsky, which is Blarp from the episode where Oblina becomes a babysitter and this thing starts eating everything. It's a nice pack-in. I like the art style of this. No articulation on this thing. It's a total slug of a figure. Get it? But it just looks amazing. Along with Zimbo, which is, of course, Tim Curry's voice in the show. Zimbo is detailed to the nines. Look at the sculpt on this sucker. These things make for such great toys. But if you go back and watch my Mattel video, when you see what they did, those were toys. As an adult collector, I'm looking for something like this. Ickis. Ickis is my absolute favorite of the Real monsters, and they've finally captured him perfectly. All the teeth, the lips, the yellow eyes, got a little schmutz on the eye, thank God that came right off, but the ears, everything. He's the red bunny rabbit from the show, of course, with his little elven boots. Keeps him nice and steady. These, again, all minimally articulated head, arms, feet. That's all we're going to get. The ears do not move. Nothing else moves. It's just the head, the arms, and the feet. He does have some peg holes on the bottom. They do come with stands, and more on that in just a few. Because now we have Crumb to check out. When you initially get this guy, he's going to have this little plastic on him. Just pop the mouth off. That's how you're able to swap the mouth plates. He does come with 2. But that is so cool. Crumb is a very heavy, hefty figure. Look at his eyeballs. He's like a pig with hair and everything else. If Oblina is the candy cane, Ickis is the rabbit, and you got the pig, of course, and he has minimal articulation in the feet. They will kind of rotate, but other than that, it's just Crumb with all his disgusting hair and everything else all over him. Unfortunately, unlike the Mattel one, he does not smell. That would have been a cool thing to put. But as you can clearly see, you swap the mouthpieces at your leisure. They simply hook in and attach beautifully. I love that. That is very cool. Now, again, if you do get the deluxe set, you get a whole other Crumb to have in your collection. This is when he goes full-on monstrous scaring mode. this is very cool. It's all one piece. There's nothing coming off. There's nothing falling off. There's nothing to swap out. It's basically the same. It's a this one's even heavier than the last Crumb, but you see the eyes and the tongue and everything else. Everything is painted beautifully on these. I'm very, very impressed. I'll have some more thoughts on Crumb in just a second as we kind of show off the actual figures when they're all in the collection. But again, very minimal articulation. I love what they did here as a bonus pack-in scare monster. And now we're going to be moving into tray number 2. This tray features extra head portraits, smiles for Crumb, extra arms for Oblina. So again, the articulation is already sculpted in. I like that. I like that you can achieve all these different poses. You actually get 3 arms for Oblina, all of which fit for her various head portraits. More on that in just a second. Because her other arm, yes, she has a ton, you have her holding the monster manual. Now, one thing I will say is that I would have loved if this was removable. That way, maybe the other monsters could hold it in some way, shape, or form. But again, I do like that they've just taken that out completely. Oblina holds the monster manual. And speaking of Oblina, check out that head portrait. Tongue's out. It's all purple. With the Aaahh monsters, when you do any type of sculpted design, action figures or whatnot, they have to have that line work to really capture the art style from Klasky Kasupo when they used to do that show. It's like Rugrats, that kind of style. It really lends itself well here. Everything is just beautifully painted, accented. These things look like they jumped right off the show. So every accent is there, all the colors. This is a fantastic head portrait, but it's not the best one. This one right here. Now in the show, if you're not familiar, Oblina was one of those monsters where her ability, she could do many different things. She could even turn into like kind of like a blue goblin kind of thing, but she'd oftentimes reach into her mouth and pull her guts out. And that was always displayed in this way. So it's funny to see how they have achieved that. Blue guts, red guts, everything under the sun, her squeedly spooch, whatever she's yanking out. Then we have extra head portraits for Ickis, and these are very cool. Ickis' whole shtick was that he would enlarge to like the size of a house kind of thing, and he would have the fangs, his eyes would bubble up into red, and he'd have the double uvula, and that's just very cool. Obviously, we're not going to do that here, but I like that they have achieved that look for his smaller stature, because it totally works at the end of the day. They've really managed to capture his burgundy purplish skin. That's cool with the little accents of lighter purple. I dig that. Same thing with the more terrified looking Ickis head. That screams Ickis. Ickis is one of those overconfident but easily scared type characters. And the head portrait here really just personifies that. Well done, from the lips and all the little black accent marks to the eyes. I even like the dips in the eyes. That's really cool. That's just very unique. It looks like little divots right there. So well done. Ickis, again, being my favorite. Very well executed here. It's fantastic to see that, along with an extra mouth plate for Crumb. Again, they have his blue lips. You have the teeth. You have the tongue. The tongue has a little fur on there. I'll show you how you just simply swap this out. Everything stays in beautifully. Nothing's falling out. Nothing snapped. Nothing broke. That's what I like to see. And yes, you achieve, just like Ickis being scared, Crumb being not necessarily cowardly, but more fearful for his friends than anything. But the teeth, the tongue, everything looks really cool amidst his fleshy body. They have really done a great job here. If only his armpits had the realistic hair that smelled, that would have been even better. You also get some alternate hands for Ickis. So his arms are now elongated. That'll go more for his scaring portrait, which is nice to have those. Then you get multiple stands. You get 3 of them. Each stand is actually designated for each individual character. It's very easy to figure out. So again, like I said, you get 3 of those, but enough about all that. Let's take a look at all these characters together, starting it off with the classic trio of Ickis, Crumb, and Oblina. All of these are around the 6-inch mark. Obviously, Oblina will stand a little bit taller at the 8-inch. They get a little bit more height when they have the stands, but You will definitely need the stands for Ickis and Oblina. Crumb, you won't have to worry about that. Oblina's a little bit top heavy, back heavy, so the stands really help her. Ickis will largely stand pretty well on his own minus the stand, but there are a few head portraits as you interchange them that you'll see cause him to be a little teeter-tottery. So I advise it's in your best interest just to keep the stands on these guys. Plus, they look really classy with those. I wish that they did give Crumb a stand just to kind of have them all be uniform. But like I said, you don't have to worry about Crumb falling over. And if you get the deluxe set, once again, you get Zimbo and you get Blarp. So those are nice to have, but you could decide either way because overall, I'm a huge fan of Real Monsters. I had to get the deluxe set. I wanted all the extra parts and pieces. I wanted the extra characters. It just looks stellar. So to have all of these and how great they look, man, oh man, am I stoked on this set. And not only that, like I said, to do them in scare mode. See, when you have action figures, not everything translates well to an action figure form. When Mattel did them way back in the day, that totally is cool. One thing I would have liked to have seen with Crumb would be to have the option to remove his eyeballs. Maybe they could have been magnetic, something he could have held. I wish they would have done more with that. Oblina overall, pulling her guts out, being scary, the eyes. It's pretty much a home run with her, and same thing with Ickis. And that's where the limitations of a articulated action figure come into play, and more of this style really emphasize the characters because you don't have to fidget with it too much because you're simply just swapping either head portraits or arms. I like that. Real Monsters is the perfect guinea pig to start off this line. Mondo has achieved greatness here in spades. And again, having Oblina holding the monster book, having Ickis be one way with his expression, you can have Crumb be scared, have Ickis be scared. You can do whatever you like, but the most important thing across the board is that everything fits within the context of the show. They haven't taken any leeways. Oh, would this be cool with it? It's just they watched the show, they understood the characters, they sculpted them out, they painted them beautifully. Bingo. There you go. You have Ickis, Crumb, and Oblina. And like I said, overall, it's just been a lot of fun to mix and match things. Again, I'll say, I wish the monster book would have been a separate piece. I wish they would have done a little bit more with Crumb's eyeballs, but pulling the guts out, having Ickis be terrifying. Crumb is over there being worried that he's lost his stench. That's what I hear. Those are the quotes that I hear. Those are the episodes I remember. These are just fantastic. I am so happy to have these on my shelves. And not to discount Zimbo and Blarp, but I'll tell you, if you just want the initial 3 monsters, just get that set. I'll put a link down in the description below. You can grab it from Entertainment Earth if you'd like. But these are not necessary, but I would not be upset if they made a Grumble and then a Snorch. But then after that, I think I would be done. I'm happy with this set as it is because, well, if you saw my recent Real Monsters video when we talked about Mattel, look at how far we have come here. These toys were great back in the 90s, but this is 2025, baby. That looks amazing. And you can see how the times have changed. Even though Ickis, even with that old toy, is very reminiscent of those days. That's pretty cool. Oblina, never been better. This is just an amazing sight to have. Old toys, new toys, put them on your shelf. What's a nice feature, though, is that if you have the entire collection of the previous Real Monsters by Mattel, some of the smaller stuff will still go with these Mondos, so you can include them all together on your shelf and have a really cool monster mash. So that is going to wrap it up for my quick look at the brand new for 2025, the first Mondo Squad set featuring Real Monsters. Man, oh man, I could not be happier. And it's always one of those things. You can see photos for days. You can go to conventions. It's not until they arrive at your home, you get them out of the box, and you go, hot dang, that looks exactly like what I wanted them to be. And I'm so happy that I ordered these. If you're an old school fan of Nickelodeon, primarily the original Nicktoons, this is a set you probably don't want to miss. Grab the standard set, get the 3 characters, you're done. Grab the deluxe set, get a few more characters, a few more body parts, it's all good. But this is perfect because I don't need any more Real Monsters. If this is all they make, it's all in one go, I've got them, it's fine. Let's move on, let's see what they do next. But again, if you do Grumble, you do the Snorch, I would definitely buy. So again, thank you all for watching. I will catch you guys on the next one. Until then, adios.